Yeah, so there's no denying the current crisis that's happening everywhere in the world right now, unless you're a super advanced civilization in the 2100 and historically we went really overboard. But look, we did what we could back then. It's best to overreact than having the Black Plague version 2.0 is what I'm saying. Anyway, humans, being of an empathetic nature, it makes perfect sense that we would want to relate to something else when dealing with such a scenario. So here are the top 10 anime that have pandemic-like crisis as their core premise. My name is Misty / Chronexia, and well, of course, since these are anime and therefore they are made up fantasies, their pandemic tends to be a bit more overzealous than the one we are currently facing. Nonetheless, a pandemic is a pandemic, so we are going to cover these shows regardless of their respective severity. What I mean is the top 10 is sorted in terms of how good the anime is, as opposed to how dire their pandemic are. Anyway, let's begin.
34ウイルスの保菌者は世界17カ国で発見されている。
Number 10, Zion, I Wish You Were Here. Zion, I Wish You Were Here is a very short 4-episode TV anime series that came out in the early 2000s. It's not the best show ever, but it does fit the thematic and it's pretty obscure, which is something veteran anime watchers tend to enjoy finding about. The story is about a meteor that crashes on Earth and brings a virulent life form along with it. The virus spreads and starts turning people into monsters. The government, to try and prevent the calamity from spreading even further, develops nanotechnology that they can inject into their soldiers to fight off the infected. But the virus adapts and mutates into something stronger, leaving the fate of the world in the hands of a lone 16-year-old girl. Yeah, it's that kind of anime. Again, not particularly enriching, but it's a short and interesting watch if anything else. Number 9, Norageki, not to be confused with Noragami. Norageki is a 1-episode only OVA. It got released in 2011, and just like Zion, not a lot of people have heard of it. The story is about 4 prisoners and a cat locked up in an isolated prison for an extended amount of time until there's a power outage and the cells unlock. To their dismay, they realize the guards have all vanished, but they also can't seem to find an exit to this place. There is a lot of symbolism and confusing imagery, and not everything makes sense on the first watch. The pandemic aspect isn't also about a virus going rampant in the world, it's more so has to do with the fact that the characters are left at their own demise after an unknown event. I'm not gonna pretend like I understood everything, because I haven't. But there's still a bit of enjoyment to take out of this short OVA. Number 8, Yo Tokyo Fish Attack and King of Thorn, back again. Gotta include some movies in this list. If you've seen my top 10 survival anime, this combo duo of Yo Tokyo Fish Attack and King of Thorn was also listed because both movies showcase characters striving to survive while a pandemic breaks out. In Tokyo Fish Attack, you have mechanical fish that starts plaguing the world. Coming from the ocean, like a disease, they spread and start wiping out most of humanity. In King of Thorn, a similar setup where people need to be cryogenically frozen inside a castle to protect themselves from a virus called the Medusa virus. When they wake up, everything is not as they remembered. How long have they been sleeping to avoid this virus that there's now giant plants overlooming the castle? They're not masterpiece movies by any stretch, but are still quite fun. I like them a lot. Number 7, Black Bullet. I'm sorry, African American Bullet. Now we're getting into more viable shows that I can recommend with a better peace of mind. Black Bullet is similar to Zion in its premise where the characters have to deal with a parasitic virus that has infected the world and turns humans into monsters. The only safe place is within the Monolith, a district protected by walls made of varinium. It's what's written in the script. They made that up, I guarantee you. Material similar to kryptonite for Superman. The monolith protects the citizens, but that doesn't remove the infected. To solve this issue, the head of security creates initiators, young women with a bit of virus blood that gives them super strength, and they are paired up with promoters, whose job is to cast them on couch. Protect the initiators, sorry, that's the other kind of promoters. The story follows the duo of Anju and Rentaro as they tackle the virus head-on. Also, the ending theme song is my favorite anime song of all time. It's just a serious bop.
おい、食べる前にさっさとパンツを履け。どうかと結論付けることができる。
Number 6. No, literally, number 6. As a dad, you just don't skip on such a fantastic opportunity. This one is stretching the pandemic theme a bit thin, but I don't often have a chance to talk about it, so let me sneak it in. The story is a bit reminiscent of Hunger Games. You have a few city-states, almost like the districts, that offer pretty decent livelihood after the Bloody World War. Outside these cities is a wasteland. One day, our main character Shion meets a boy from the wasteland named Nezumi. Together, they start to form a bond, despite the fact they come from two very different worlds, and that Shion could get into some pretty big trouble by taking him in. Eventually, they go on an adventure together to uncover the secrets hidden from mankind. It's a very rich sci-fi mystery with a fair share of action and drama, and some very peculiar sexual tension. Whatever that's worth.
おかしい。あんた本当におかしい。
Number 5, Guilty Crown. Wow, I haven't talked about this anime in over half a decade, I think. Guilty Crown, first of all, is a stunning looking anime. If anything, it still withstands the test of time. The story happens 10 years after the outbreak of a virus in Japan known as the Last Christmas event. After that, a military force took over the country and new regulation began to happen. Along with this, formed a militia who opposed this new task force, and in the middle is Shu. No, not literally a Shu, just a guy named Shu. A normal teenager with a special power that can tip the scale. The show exudes similarities to Code Geass with its rebellion theme, but with an ending that's a bit of a hard pill to swallow. Kind of like Darling in the Franxx. I still recommend it overall, it's so fun to watch. Just be aware of the sour turnabout, is how I'm gonna put it. Number 4, Zombies Anime. The lots of them. We're gonna put them all under this umbrella. High School of the Dead, School Life, Resident Evil Degeneration. So I'm guessing you thought I'd use the excuse of pandemic to litter my list of zombies anime. It's the perfect match. But no, I'm not a little bitch. Instead, I'm gonna put all of them together under this category so we can have more room for other interesting picks. Whether it's in High School of the Dead, School Life, or the 4 Resident Evil animated film, because yes, that's actually labeled as an anime. Get over it. They all start off with a patient 0 that gets infected, and the spread just keeps increasing, which is a bit similar to what we are experiencing, minus the brain-eating part. Hopefully it never gets to that point either. But resources getting scarce, toilet paper especially, government shutting down borders, there are a lot of similarities that can be drawn out. Number 3, Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress. I'm setting Cabaneri aside from the zombie genre because despite many considering it part of it, I think it has more to offer and a different approach on the matter. Cabaneri is a story about a civilization during the Industrial Revolution when a virus starts spreading and it begins turning people into kabane, which are a type of monster. The people are locked up and starting to lose resources, and they must send a scavenging team out in the world to go and gather rations. The only way in and out of the city is through a heavily armored train, so a squad is designed for the job, and you pray for the best. It's a pretty good anime, but if I can recommend you something, you'll get more out of watching the 3 movies that they made than watching the actual TV series. If you can choose between either, opt for the trilogy of movies. You'll have more content. Number 2, Owari no Seraph. This anime begins with a pandemic crisis when a virus wipes the world of anyone who's above the age of 13. Amidst the chaos is an orphanage where lives Yuichiro and Mikaela, 2 young boys and their siblings who are soon taken captive by vampires to be farmed as living blood banks. Not wanting to live as livestock, they plan to make an escape, but unfortunately they get caught by the head vampire guy, the Draculus, I'm guessing. Anyway, only Yuichiro manages to escape, and he vows to do his best to try and lay to waste the vampire cult. It's a great story, and in terms of pandemic, it's mostly used as a setup for the post-apocalyptic world they get to witness. All in all, it's a very fun action adventure, but not much of a serious take on the actual crisis of pandemics. And finally, the number 1 position for the best pandemic anime belongs to Cells at Work and Moyashimon. Cells at Work, an anime about the various cells in your body. You might not think of it as an actual pandemic anime, but from the perspective of the characters, it most definitely qualifies as one. The only difference here is that the virus are actually personified. Of course, that's a lot more different than the rest on this list, but it still affects the character's livelihood the whole way through. So I think it's a fitting entry. Besides, it's actually such a good anime you should watch it regardless of that. Also, in the same line of thoughts, there is Moyashimon, which is a story about a guy who can speak with bacteria and other microscopic organisms. It's a different outlook on the whole pandemic crisis, but if you need something lighter to cleanse your palate, this is a great way to end things on. I realize the whole COVID-19 topic is still quite touchy-feely. Hopefully there's a few titles in here that you can sink your teeth in to kill some time while everyone is quarantined up. And if you've seen everything or nothing here appeals to you, may I suggest you check out a different top 10 of mine? I've been doing them for years, so if you're stuck inside and you don't find me too insufferable to listen to, I assure you I don't sound this sick most of the time. There's definitely something you can find amongst my list that I've done in the past. But if you do not need me, I do wish you a good watch. Have a good one, keep washing your hands because you'll need them to subscribe to my channel in the future. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you guys next time when I'm not sick and sounding like a dead hooker that smoked for like 40 years.
Hard times, I've been on the wrong side, I've been ashamed. So many memories, you know I'd like to change.